Okay, let's dive into this. You've almost certainly heard of the epic poem Beowulf, right? It's a giant of English literature, famous for its incredible hero, its fire-breathing dragon, and of course, its first and maybe most terrifying monster, Grendel.
I mean, the poem really paints a chilling picture. Grendel is this shadowy, grim demon who literally haunts the swamps and moors. He's this creature of the night that just terrorizes the great hall of Herod. He is, for all intents and purposes, the classic monster from our nightmares.
Okay, but here's where things get really interesting. What if this monster wasn't just some spooky character a poet dreamed up? What if the whole story of Grendel is actually an echo of something much, much older and way more real? So the big idea we're going to dig into here is that buried underneath this medieval story is a genuine primal fear, a fear that was passed down through countless generations. We're going to try and strip away all the story, all the poetry, to find its ancient source. This leads us to this fascinating concept called ancestral memory. The idea is basically that the really intense life-or-death survival fears of our distant ancestors can get kind of, well, baked into our stories. They get preserved for thousands of years in our myths and legends.
So, look at this. This is how we start to peel back those layers. On the left, you've got what we can call the medieval embellishments. Grendel being a descendant of Cain, cursed by God. That's the story part. But look at the right, under primal terror. Immense strength, a night ambusher, a fen dweller. Now that sounds less like a fairy tale and more like a blueprint for a real-life predator.
So how on earth do you test a theory like this? I mean, how do you excavate a memory from a 1,000-year-old poem? Well, believe it or not, you use some seriously modern tech. We're talking about using artificial intelligence as a kind of digital archaeologist. And the main tool for the job is something called a neural network. To put it simply, it's a super sophisticated AI that's been designed to think a little bit like a human brain. And for this project, it was trained to do one thing really well: to read descriptive text and spot patterns that match up with real-world biology. All right, so here's how it went down, step by step. First, the researchers took just those core primal terror descriptions from the poem. Second, they fed all that data into the AI. Then, the really cool part, the neural network started cross-referencing all those traits against a massive database of biological and fossil records. And the final step, to generate a plausible, real-world predator that fits the description.
So the AI has the data, it's run the analysis. What did it find? It's finally time to put a face to this ancient, deep-seated fear. After churning through all those descriptions of Grendel, his incredible strength, his nocturnal hunting, the swampy world he lived in, the AI found a really compelling match.
But get this, the match wasn't another monster from folklore. It wasn't a troll or some other kind of demon. The source it found was much, much older. The AI pointed straight to the Pleistocene era, the Ice Age. It turns out the biological reality behind the monster wasn't in myth at all. It was in prehistory. So, what was it? The AI concluded the real Grendel was a memory of an animal like the great cave bear of the Ice Age. I mean, think about it. This creature fits the description perfectly. It was a massive apex predator that would have hunted our early ancestors in those cold, marshy landscapes up north. Suddenly, fen dweller isn't just a spooky name. It's a description of a real habitat for a very real threat. The monster, it seems, is a genuine relic of prehistoric survival. This whole discovery just completely reframes how we should look at myths, doesn't it? They aren't just stories. They can actually be a kind of data. It suggests that our monsters, our oldest, most lasting fears, they actually matter. They matter because they might just be records of our own hidden history. So what that means is, our oldest stories are more than just entertainment. They're time capsules. They're like this incredible library of human experience, holding these faint but persistent echoes of what it actually took for our species to make it. And this quote just nails it, you know? We've exposed the primal terror of the Pleistocene, preserved for centuries in a medieval poem. We've used 21st century tech to reach back through a medieval poem and touch the genuine fear of the Ice Age. That is an absolutely incredible bridge between art and science.
And that leaves us with one last huge question. If the story of Grendel is really holding a memory of a Pleistocene predator, what other real histories, what other forgotten truths
are hiding in plain sight, just waiting for us inside our other ancient myths.